Welcome to the Global Love Revolution, the evolving conversation with Alice Cheambe, discussing about conscious parenting begins with parenting yourself first. Enjoy! This is something you talk about, parenting yourself first before you parent your children. I want to start with this conversation. It's so
Okay.
interesting you just brought up, and I just thought that, wow, this is something that we never thought about it. We always think about, okay, being a parent, let's just educate our children, but we forget about
Right.
stuff. So can you lead us from there?
Yeah. So, parenting, first of all, is the hardest job you can ever have. And just first of all, get yourself off the hook that you would be perfect. But we are not looking for perfection. We are just looking for awareness in our relationships. And I am a parent of three. My first daughter is 8 years old. She's going to be 9 in February. And I have twins who are 6 years old. So I'm a parent of three kids. And the journey for me has been interchanging. It has been a relationship that changes. It's not a constant relationship. Like when they were babies, my relationship to them was completely different. And now they are growing up to be more independent. And there I'm also having to really adjust my relationship to them. And the more they grow bigger and really demand for their independence, you as a mom, as a parent, we have to always constantly be flexible to see how we can let go of control and give them more control as they demand control to take over their lives. So yeah, and in that giving up the control, um, we have to dig so deep into ourselves and see in many ways that we are operating from fear, from love, from being a guide. I always tell myself this, or what I always remind myself about is I am just a guide to them. They come here fully aware of what they want out of their lives, and my sole responsibility is to guide them. Like, and that guidance really, when they're babies, is very intensive. And as they grow older, what I'm recognizing is I have to also readjust my guidance towards your life. So yeah, it's a lot about parenting, and for me, what I have understood as a parent is like my own patterns or what I have understood to pass over to my kids has come a lot from how I was parent as well. And I had to look into those beliefs to see if it's working for me and if I want to pass that on to my children. So there I really had to really break down the status quo, break down things that I grew up with, and just ask myself if it is really, really applicable in their generation to pass over those beliefs to them and prepare them for the future. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's really about parenting them, but more about parenting yourself yourself as well. Yeah.
Wow. So, Alice, how did I think the part with you kind of touch is about like self-awareness. Like I think a lot of us has like a struggle about how do you do like the assessment about what you have been brought to your life, the belief that from your parents, and then you trying to like, oh, trying to identify which one is the best one and go for it. I don't think people really do that. Well, what's your technique, what's a method about being in that state of say, okay, I'm going to change it, I'm going to choose this. What
Yeah,
do you do?
I do understand. For me, it's simple. For me, it's to follow my heart. Like ever since they were babies, I have always asked for guidance. Like, please show me the best way I can be a parent to this human being. Like, we have ideas that of being a parent, or
Yeah.
I had ideas of how a parent should be. Like when they were little, before they were even born, I had all these ideas put into place how I should parent them. And the first day I actually held my daughter in my arms, I freaked out because it's like all those beliefs kind of like they are very theoretical, but that baby is there very physical in your arms. And then you realize you have to make a moment to moment decision. And for me, I ask for guidance. I go to my heart. It's a lifestyle that I live as well, where I try to live from a heart-centered place rather than a mind-focused way, like not so mental, not so rigid. I try to come from my heart, and if you come from your heart, you would always have some guidance there, some answer, or at times it's just a feeling that comes from me. It's like, what I'm about to do or what I said, does it feel good? And if I ask myself those questions, I attune to what my child is feeling at every given moment. And then I can connect to them and really guide them from that place of connection, and not from discipline or from I am the mom, you have to listen to me. But it's very challenging, I must admit, is because at times your own patterns, that's the part that I talk about, you parenting yourself, your own patterns come up as well. And there you also have to see yourself like a child. At times I literally see myself like a child and say, okay, this is this program within me that is reacting. And I also have to parent that part of me to give them the feeling that they are still in control, but this is not about me. This is about my child, another individual. So it's a lot about, it's really a lot about asking questions. Like, things will not go perfect all the time, but when they don't go perfect, ask yourself the question, what can I do better next time? And there you learn. And there you learn from what you could do better. You learn how to really create tight relationships with your children. And two of you just navigate it. It's like, it's a cool relationship. And it's not it's not about me telling you what to do, but it's about, hey, how can we figure this out? So it's kind of like a friendship rather than how I grew up, that my parents always told me what to do. Yeah. I give them a lot of space to express themselves as well. Yeah.
I love it. You just, I think, for listener out there, it's kind of recap what Alice was saying. It's important to kind of come back to yourself and sort of be friend with yourself, right? Be friend with yourself and kind of imagine that you are that little girl, and doing the process of first of all, come back to your heart center, and then find yourself and do self-inquiry, asking the right question, like Alice was saying, what can I do to improve myself right now? So I think that's a very brilliant way to really come back to the moment and knowing and noticing what is the thing that you need to do more in order to help yourself and your children. So what is the biggest challenge for you, like when you trying to do something for your kids and your kids are just not listening and you feel like frustrated?
The biggest challenge for me is definitely patience. It's to be so patient. It demands a lot of patience. And because they live in the now. Kids live in the now. We live in so many different dimensions. Like, it's time to go to school, and I'm thinking about, they'll be late for school, they'll have trouble if they get to school late, and all the consequences. But right now, they just want to finish what, at times I like, they just want to finish what they're doing. They are so present in the moment, and they're not thinking about the future. And you as a mom, you have that urgency, but they don't have that. It's like, no, why should I hurry or something like? So it's a lot of you have to bring in a lot of patience. And also another challenge is to bring them up from a place of love rather than fear. Because what I've noticed for me is the moments where I feel where I really lose it for myself, my fears taking control over me, like the fears of them getting into trouble, the fear of something happening to them, so it's when I come from that place of fear, then I am so constricted around them. But when I come from love, it's like I am more expansive, and I give them more room to be flexible as well and express themselves. So yeah, fear and patience.
Fear and patience. Wow. Oh, well, the thing is, like, when you So this is a challenge, like fear and patience. This two is it's sort of different feeling, right? The patient is sort of in a level high level of vibration, but the fear is always in a lower vibration. However, I feel that the fear can turn into either a healthy way or in an unhealthy way, right? Because sometimes the fear is sort of there to trigger you. You know, I don't know whether I read some kind of book, I don't remember who wrote this, but it's like, be friend with your fear, it says. But I mean, I think it's so true. It's about finding balance within yourself. Like the fear and love will always exist, right? They are always there, but it's just a matter of how you handle it. How do you ask? How do you overcome that when that actually appear to you? So Ellie, for your case, when you have that fear comes up, right? And that moment, what did what action, what is the step that you take? Is it right away you stop? Or you just lash out and say, let's just do it later?
Okay. At times I lash out, to be fair, but then I pick up myself. Like today I had to go out with my son, and he wants to wear short sleeves to go out, and it's getting really, really cold here in Germany. And I'm like, you're going to catch a cold. And he said, no, the sun is shining outside. I want to wear something short to go out. And my fear in that moment is he's going to catch a cold. He's going to fall sick. And all what moms want for their children, right? We're thinking of the worst possible scenario.
Yeah.
And he is looking at the sun is shining outside. He has a thick jacket. He does not see why he should wear long sleeves. And in that moment, I really have to ask myself, is it true? I mean, is it true that he's going to catch a cold? Is that really true? You know, it's like come back to really inquire the fear as well. What is this really all about? Then I realized it is really all about my own fear of the future. Like what I was saying previously, that we project our fears so much on our kids, and we try to bring them up through our fears. But in this moment, as I ask myself, is it really true? I'm like, no, it's not true. He's not going to catch a cold. And in that space right now, I give him the feeling that he can make a decision for himself. Like you have to pick your battles. This one was a really small battle. I give him the feeling that you can make that decision for yourself. But I'm just going to tell you the consequence. You could catch a cold. So please just know that. But hey, you can make the decision for yourself. And that's how I resolved it with him today. And we really went out, and it was not so cold, and he didn't complain. And actually what I did was I took a longer shirt and just put it in my bag just in case, we went out and he complained that, okay, I am now cold, and I give him the shirt. But it's really, really giving them that space to make their own decisions as well, and make them feel they have control. For me, I have noticed that with my kids, especially my son, the areas where we get into a lot of conflict is when he feels he has no control. So I look for situations where he feels he has the power to make that decision for himself, or I give him options like, this is A, B, and C. Which one do you want? Like things that are, of course, safe for him, but just give him that space to choose for himself. And I think it builds up their self-confidence. For me, I grew up being very obedient. And when I became an adult, I started working, I had a lot of trouble really fitting in, because for me, it was just about a lot of respect. I had to respect people. I had to be obedient. But as an adult, it really made me not express myself so much. So I had a lot of difficulties at work to just express myself, because I was never given that room to just make decisions or express what I really felt. So it has been a process where I had to learn how to do that again. So for my kids, I really want to give them the space to really have a concept of themselves so that they can be strong, like just preparing them for the future to be able to make right decisions for themselves. It starts while they're still very small. So yeah, those are the things that really, really matter to me in parenting the kids. Give them a room to express themselves.
I think, well, this lead to the next question. Actually, you just touched it. I was just about to say, you know, what else that I feel like, you know, the way that you kind of teach your kids, it's a reflection to yourself as well. So I feel like your kids is teaching you one thing is that, hey, I can make decision, I can be in control, give me some space, right? He's sharing with you, and in the same time it reflects your past, and you know, I actually didn't have that. So Alice,
Absolutely.
what else is in there? Like what else do you feel like your kids is actually teaching you in a way, like letting them do and you know be free?
Yeah, actually, one of my core beliefs that our kids really come here to teach us. Like they're here to teach us or to remind us who we really are. Because a lot of the times I see what to do and I'm asking myself, oh my goodness, I didn't have the courage to do that. Like my first girl, she is so extroverted. Like I am very introverted. And she can easily make friends like that and wants to hang out with her friends. And I'm like looking at myself and like, gosh, I didn't have that. Like I didn't know how to make friends. I wasn't so open. And she is teaching me, bringing all her friends into our house and teaching me how to open up as well. And that is what I'm learning from them. It's like I am learning how to really see the world from a child's perspective and not overcrowd them with my own grown-up perspective and shut them and limit them for because that is how I grew up. So for things that I am not comfortable with or I'm not used to, and when they want to explore that space, I do absolutely learn from them. And they teach me or they reflect to me at times also my own personal what triggers me, because when they do that, I feel triggered one way or the other. Like, maybe maybe you shouldn't be going out with
Yeah.
her or her. Then I realized it's not her story; it's my story from my own past. You
Oh,
know,
wow.
yeah, they do teach me every day.
Alice, what are the key, maybe I would say like the key value of and the responsibility you think that parents should have, you know, should learn to have that skill and knowledge, you know, before
Hmm.
they decided, or maybe they already have children, but those are the skill and knowledge you feel like we, you know, as a parent should have. Well, what are
Yeah, yeah, great question. I think it's what I'm thinking currently is, as a parent, you're right. You have that responsibility to keep your children safe. So
mm-hmm.
the question is how much free room, how much freedom do you give them? And as a parent, or my husband and myself, we kind of like make some guide rules. Like these are the rules of the house. We have actually, before, when you're entering the house, we have an affirmation board where we've written all the rules of the house. In this house we do this, in this house we do this. So the kids know that these are the boundaries. Like you have to act within this boundary. We take a lot into consideration empathy. We bring up a lot of compassion. We bring up a lot of responsibility as well. It's like we teach them a lot of cause and effects. Like we allow them to make mistakes, but
Mm-hmm.
we also point out the effects of what their choices are. It's like, if you do this, this is going to happen. And once that happens, you're going to have consequences. It's like there are consequences for your actions. We definitely do teach them that. So it's like the core values that we really try to teach our children is you are responsible for your life. Like you are the co-creator of your life. It's not, and we teach them. I have my for example, my daughter, one of the twins. Her thing is, when something goes wrong, she is never wrong. She is always another person. She always blames it, either her brother or her sister or us or the weather or somebody, but she is never wrong. So that's one area where we always come back and say, hey, you did this and this happened, and it's because of the choices that you choose to do in this moment that has caused this. So please do recognize that. So we really have childish, mature conversations with them to see, for them to see the actions and the effects of the actions. Or if they get into some misunderstandings or quarrels or fighting, we try to bring in empathy in this. Like, what you said, probably, how would you feel if someone said it to you? So, okay, just to answer your questions, the 5 values is do unto others how you want others to do unto you. That I got that from my father, and I lived by, that was one of the things that it's still so deeply instilled in me. Then the cause and effects, like if you do something, it definitely has an effect, and if that effect comes up, there are consequences around that. Then there is love. Whatever we do, we try, no matter if we're trying to discipline them or if we're just trying to create that connection, we always make them feel loved. It's like children perceive love in very abstract ways, very different ways. Sometimes they just want you to make them feel loved. And this is not about speaking, it's about really showing them that you love them. And we bring playfulness. Oh, it's so playful in our home. It's like, it has to be fun, it has to be playful. And the education, we try to give them the best education we can possibly give, not just the intellectual education, but also the emotional education, and just the fullness of life. So yeah,
wow, that's brilliant. That's very. I think it's very comprehensive. It's a simple thing that I'm sure all the parents out there, you can say your own value, but I think you touch the main thing is that empathy. Empathy is a higher skills that I think children nowadays should learn more. And also, I think adult, being adult yourself, you have to kind of self-evaluate yourself, how much compassion and empathy you have, right? Before you can actually lead by example. I think having a set, I love how you set up a sort of like a framework at home and let the children know this is what we learn, to build a family together. That's very, very good. Yeah, so this is a great knowledge. Thank you, Alice, for sharing that. So Alice, the next question, so you have 3 children. So one of the things I want to ask you is that how do you build a bonding time with your children? Do you bring all together? Do you have a separate session with them, like play with each of them? Because I know it's hard with the more children you have. How do you handle that situation?
Oh, okay. There is one thing that is absolutely a must in our house, which is hugs. At times they just come and say, "Mommy, I need a hug." I'm like, "Okay, come, let's hug." So we do. But you're right. We like Sunday mornings. Sunday mornings is a very common morning where we're not rushing anywhere. We're not going anywhere. So they hop into the bed. We stay in bed like for about just few more minutes, just bonding time, read together in bed. That one is like kind of like the family bonding time. It's very usual that on Sunday mornings, you probably have all of us in one bed, and one person is reading a book, one is just talking, and it's just that bonding time. But during the week when it's a little bit more, we have a lot of activities in between the plays. I have bonding nights for every one of them. So today is this person. I take them to bed and I cuddle with them in bed, and the next is the other person. And so we do a routine. Today it's you, today's you, today's you.
Oh, okay.
And then we just navigate. And for my daughter, her love language is just touch. It's like she really loves physical touch. And it took me a while to really understand her love language, because at 7 p.m. she's always very moody and grumpy and doesn't really listen to you. Then I realized in this moment she's so tired from her day's activities and she just wants a little bit of intimacy. So what we started doing with her is during that time we just sit with her, listen to how her day was, and just get into our own world. And once we started doing that, the evenings were really, really easy. It just became so easy. Once you bond with her, she gets, it's like her love tank gets full. She just gets full with energy, and then she has energy to take her through the day and do what she has to do to just settle for the night. So yeah, we incorporate this in so many different ways, like at times in the mornings, at times in the evenings, just random. Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. Like you talk about the language of love. I never thought about that. You know, to understand each of your kids, what kind of language of love,
Oh
that will
yeah.
really help, right? Because I think ultimately what we all as a human being, it's about feeling love, right? Feeling
Mm.
love from different way, you know, how everybody is receive love in the different direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
a very key point. Thanks for sharing that, Lisa. That's very exciting. You know, another new thing for me to learn too.
Oh, there's a really good book. It's a really good book about that from Gary Chapman, The Five Languages of Love. It's a really good read for that.
Okay, well, guys, check out their five language of love.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a reference out down there. I think I know what it is. I think they read. Actually, he actually wrote a lot of different type of book as well, talking about five language for, I think, for teenagers as well, teenagers or
Yeah. Also
children.
for
Yeah,
marriages
for
as well.
marriages. Yeah, so that's a great reference. All right,
Yeah.
Alice, like just pull out last two questions for you. Like, do you have like a role model? You're being a parent. Do you have like a preparation like before you having a child? You could look for you either books or someone is your role model. You just follow
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh yeah, I actually do. When I was a kid, I used to watch a lot of Cosby Show. Like that was my first reference of how a family should look like. So I was growing up with that model in my head. But as I have grown older, it has changed. It one family that I really look. Actually, you learn a lot from just observing other people. Like you
Mhm.
see families, they are doing this. I'm like, oh, I love that. I'm gonna pick it up and try to apply in my family. But the model, my role model of family is really, yeah. Growing up was Cosby Show, and in my late adulthood, before I became a parent, I was looking a lot at Jada Pinkett. She's kind of, I really love her. And I love how she's that really strong personality within the family and brings the family together. I actually named my daughter after her. I just like her
Oh,
personality as a
okay.
mom. Like, as she's like, does all protective, but tender and fierce, and yeah, just holding the family together. So that's one big role model. But in a day-to-day interaction, is you become your own model. It's like you can only just answer to yourself and be the best you can, and you fall back to your own values, and that's what keeps you going, because um, it is hard. It's not perfect. There's so many elements in it that once you become a parent, you have to manage all. So to hold another person in this pedestal of a model, it's quite it's very abstract. So it has to be in the day-to-day life. But my mom, I have things that I took from my mom as well, like her strength, like a mom, like just holding everyone together and having
Mhm.
that capacity to show us love the way she did. And I have people also in my family that I had a really strong connection with them when I was growing up, and I liked the way they just made me feel loved when I was growing up. I just take from every direction and apply it to my life. I leave the ones that do not function, and I take the ones that really make things work.
Hey,
Yeah.
yeah, that's I think it's about observation, right? What I'm understanding
Yes.
is like to you when you become a parent, a lot of time, sometimes books cannot teach you a lot of that. You can refer to it, but I think everyone has their own model of how to kind of creating your own family. culture, you know, how do you want to be?
Yeah.
Because I think it's true, like you say, you pick up from each of different, you know, observation, you kind of receive it, and then you try to apply
Yeah.
in your family.
The thing is, it's going to be very individual. Like, even if you see a family and you love the way that family is set up, when you have your own family, it's not like you're picking from a salad plate what you want and what you don't want. It's like it's going to be a different mixture.
Is it right? Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Alice, the next thing is next question I have is just like, how do you actually co-parents with your husband? Do you have? I know initially you talked about. I think I heard you said you kind of sat down with your husband and come up with the core values, right, for the family.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you do kind of build a strong, you know, between like your strong bonding with your husband and really create a solid foundation for the family?
Yes. We when we were best friends before we got married, and before we had kids, we talked about it as well, and really tried to draw to put our core values, like just put one or two things we would want to see together as a parent. And when we became a parent, it's a continuous process. It's always talking about things that are not working, applying, finding some common ground, some common understanding how to approach different challenges, I would put them. And last year, actually, we did consciously together take a course on parenting, like, hey, let's go back and have one vision for our family, how we want our family to look like. So we took this course from Mind Valley, the life book process, which really helped us again to, there is a category about parenting, like really helped us to have a common vision on how we want to parent, not just have a vision, but also what strategy do we want to use to parent, and what are we going to do about it? So it's a continuous conversation. Like, even if we have those things written down for ourselves, life is going to show up differently. When it shows up differently, we talk about it and see what we can do about it. So it's a cool partnership, and it's an ongoing process all the time. And I think communication there is very, very important. So important.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Communication is the key to build a strong foundation, right? I was thinking about a while ago, you know, like there's a lot of like single parents out there. What can they do, you know, when they face with this challenge? And one of the things I think is important to find a community, maybe a support group to talk about this and try to learn from each other. So I think, you know, ultimately like this the purpose of like doing this kind of video, it's actually to help, you know, everyone out there. It doesn't matter where you are in your journey, whether you have you know, whether you're single parents or you are co-parenting with your husband or wife, you know, this every single thing that we kind of talk about here, it can apply in your life, right? And generally create a cohesiveness and harmonious in the family. So Alice, let's just jump in the last one. So I know this is I will let it talk to you forever. Like we continue. You know, there's so many questions in my mind, but I think let's just leave it this way. And if someone wants to actually connect with you, maybe they want to know about, you know, more tips from you and continue this conversation. Where can people find you? And maybe you can tell us a little about what you've been doing a little bit, and then show us where can we guide and find you.
Oh yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. That's so generous. Yeah, I am. You can find me first of all on alicecheambe.com. That's my website. I'm also on Instagram as Alice Cheambe. And this year in particular, I really chose to really live a life of ease and meaningfulness. So I became a DESIRE MAP coach. Is all about really, like I was saying before, looking at your life as from a holistic point of view and seeing how you can really live from your heart center. And that's what I am doing currently, or that's where I am moving towards the future, to facilitates such conversations that have to do with people's happiness and relationships to us. It's all about, I look at relationships like the most important thing in our lives, because if they are not going so great, we are not feeling so great as well. Mm-hmm. So I help to have these conversations around relationships, relationship with yourself, relationship with your family, your social life relationship, and just facilitate the process for people to really come back to themselves and find that place of wellness and well-being within themselves.
Well, thank you so much, Alice. Well, everyone, pay attention. If you have struggling about, knowing what's your desire in yourself, or you want to learn about how to face challenges, during your parenting journey here, feel free to connect with Alice. Alice has a lot of experience. We have been know each other for a year now. I see her shifting from one place to another. So don't feel, she's very generous. So go ahead and connect with her. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in today. I really appreciate everyone. Stay tuned and really continue this conversation about conscious parenting, education at home, as well as how we can bring this to the world. And remember this: love yourself, love others. Together, we can create a global love revolution. Thank you, and see you next time. Bye.